Hi, good evening. And I welcome you to another episode of PJs with PJ, Pajama Talks with Pastor Jeannie. I am Pastor Jeannie Sortland, and I have the privilege of serving the Kensal United Methodist Church and St. John's United Methodist Church in Wimbledon, North Dakota. And so I am glad you are here, and I welcome you into this time of reflection that maybe something that I can offer you will stir your soul and help you draw closer to God and maybe improve your relationships, because that's a little bit where I'm headed today. And I don't know if all of you know, but I've been part of a master class that specializes in studying and understanding conflict since last September. And it's led, how I got involved in this, it's led by my life coach, who specializes in coaching pastors. So it's been a great group. It's a diverse group of people, and it's a place where we can be honest and do groupthink and kind of coach each other along. And so one of the things that we talked about at our most recent meeting was I had a situation where I felt like I needed to read between the lines. Like there were things that people were saying without saying them. And so I was discerning if I needed to explore further as to what was going on. And one of the things we have learned about conflict is that we need to understand what is fact and what is story. And so we analyzed what things were facts that I was aware of that could be digitally recorded, what things were actually said, or, hand gestures that had happened, facial expressions, that kind of thing. And what part was my story? What part was I assuming that I was making up, that I couldn't prove? There wasn't a fact to back it up. And let me tell you, when you start dissecting what can actually have been factually recorded, what would everybody in the room agree had happened, and what did I think I was picking up on? What did I think I was reading into the situation that was my story that I was creating? And so that really helps bring conflict down a notch. And I think too, a lot of times in our families, when there is a conflict, I used to call it, there was someone that would be full of MSUMs, making stuff ups. I called it catastrophizing. Like, if something happened, they would surmise this and this and this and this will be happening because of this. Well, that was fiction. That was story. That was that person's story. We didn't know if that stuff would happen. I mean, maybe it would. Maybe that would be the effect from the cause. But sometimes even the cause that was being called out and identified hadn't actually occurred. And it always created conflict. And the thing about conflict, when you move into a conflict situation, our brain is programmed to protect ourselves. When we move into that space, when we feel like we're being attacked or tensions are rising, we move into fight, flight, or freeze. And so we either just run off and avoid the situation, or we come right back at the person that we feel like is maybe threatening us, or calling us out, or however we're looking at it, or we just freeze and shut down and do nothing. And what happens if we are experiencing fight, flight, or freeze is our brain doesn't work right. We actually have a drop in IQ, a significant drop. And we say and do things that are actually stupid. And so, when you talk about, sometimes people get stupid angry. Well, they are. Their brain is not working properly. And so that's, if you can draw back out of a conflictual situation by identifying what is fact and what is my story, what could be fiction. I mean, maybe there's something to my story, but until I get curious and maybe ask the questions, okay, you said this, and I don't think you probably intended it this way. However, I was picking up something and I feel like you maybe meant this. And if the person says, no, I didn't mean that at all, well, then it's done. Or if they say, well, yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at, then it gives you an opportunity to have a healthy, informed, curious discussion. Because when we switch from attacking someone because we think we're in our rights, back to an attitude of curiosity, trying to understand, why do you feel this way? Why did you say this? Why are you feeling that way about me? It really keeps our brain working better, because moving into curiosity versus fight, flight, or freeze keeps our brain at a higher performance level. And so I think a lot of us are really guilty of this. That we kind of are seeing things that may or may not be there. And the other thing that we talk about in this class is assume positive intentions. Unfortunately, especially if we've had a history with a person that there has been conflict or disagreements, we start to kind of assume that they've got it out for us, or that they're nitpicking at us, or that they want to see us fail. Well, how does your perspective change if you assume that they want the best for you? Or that they are really concerned about the outcome of this, and so that is why they have proceeded as such. And I'll give you an example of one time. I was kind of in the middle, still having kids, nursing kids. And that's a time for a woman where your body's doing all kinds of crazy stuff and you're not feeling terribly secure in your physical appearance. And that could lead to a whole other discussion. But I had lost weight. I was feeling good. I had gotten these new prescription sunglasses that I really thought were fun. And I went to pick up my kids from school, and another mother looked me up and down, up and down, and up and down, before she said, "My, aren't we looking 50s today?" It's a good thing I had had some therapy by then, because I knew where my value came from, and it was not from whatever she was either. I mean, I don't know what she meant by that comment because I was so stunned I didn't delve into it. So all of a sudden, I was making up my story, right, in my head. And now at this point, I had a choice if I was going to get offended or not. And that's important. You always have a choice if you're going to get offended. I should say that again. You always have a choice if you are going to get offended. But so I could have chosen to be offended, or I just thought, the 50s were a fun decade. And I bet she really likes the 50s. And you know what? I bet she was telling me that she just really liked my look. And mind you, I had to repeat this to myself many times because I would keep being drawn back to, what did she mean by that? But assuming that she had positive intention, that she meant to compliment me, sure took the conflict out of that, the potential conflict out of that situation. So anyway, so those are some things that you might want to process yourself, how you're responding, if you're choosing to be offended or not. If you are being curious in situations of conflict that help people not move into fight, flight, or freeze as a response to how you are addressing a situation, and keep our brains working better. So anyway, that's what I've got on my brain for tonight, and so I hope this helps you in all of your relationships, but particularly in your closest relationships, your family relationships. So I pray for a lack of conflict, for peace, for lack of offense, and as always, health for you, my friends. Thanks for being here tonight. Bye-bye.